What's going on, guys? For those of you who don't know me, I am Nolan, and this is Nolan's Sports Podcast, where we talk about sports. It was another wild weekend again of the NFL playoffs. We're down to the final four teams, but let's recap this weekend's playoffs. We had the Houston Texans going into Baltimore to try and upset the Baltimore Ravens, although that did not happen. Their score ended up being 34-10. Baltimore ends up winning. C.J. Stroud, Texans, they surprised Baltimore in the first half by blitzing a lot. They shocked Baltimore they blitzed a lot. And I don't think that Baltimore was prepared for that. It kind of surprised Baltimore. It looked like Baltimore ended up getting their act together in the second half of the game. And they ended up pulling away. C.J. Stroud was 9 for 33 in passing attempts. He had 175 yards. He had a QBR of 53.1. That was not a C.J. Stroud type game. No touchdowns, no interception. I think being in that atmosphere, being in that crowd, it stunned C.J. Stroud a little bit, especially for a rookie quarterback. It's going to stun you a little bit. You're not going to be used to the atmosphere. He had one game in the playoffs where he was at home. This playoff game, he was on the road in a hostile environment, so he struggled. Those guys were not experienced, so we knew that that was going to come back and bite them eventually, and it did. But again, nobody expected the Texans to be here this far. They got this far, so anything that they accomplished from here on out, which they got to the second round of the divisional series, way to go, Texans. Nobody expected y'all to get as far as y'all gotten. Nico Collins had 5 receptions for 68 yards. Devin Singletary had 5 receptions for 48 yards. Dalton Schultz had 5 receptions for 43 yards. And Steven Sims had a punt return touchdown. On Baltimore side of things, Action Jackson himself, Lamar Jackson, he did what he needed to do. He talked to the guys at halftime. He got them right. He came out taking it into his own hands. He was 16 from 22 in passing attempts and 152 yards passed, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times, had a QBR of 93.9, and Lamar had 11 carries himself for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Lamar ran for 2 touchdowns. Justice Hill had 11 carries for 66 yards. Gus Edwards had 10 carries for 40 yards. Zay Flowers had 4 receptions for 40 yards. Rashad Bateman had 3 receptions for 39 yards. Isaiah Likely had 2 receptions for 34 yards, 1 touchdown. And Nelson Aguilar had 2 receptions for 12 yards and 1 touchdown. So those guys ended up coming out in the second half, and they ended up pulling away like they were supposed to do. Baltimore played a really good game, and we know how scary Baltimore is when they get going on offense. Not only did they get going on offense, their defense really got to C.J. Stroud. They shut down the Texans' run game, and everything was working for them in that game. They had all their coverages right and ready to go, and they automatically finished the job like they were supposed to. So now they move on to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Transitioning into the next game, you had the Green Bay Packers, who were playing the San Francisco 49ers. And just like the Texans, the Packers probably had no business being here, but they were here, and they were in this game to win this game. Jordan Love was 21 from 34 in passing attempts. He had 194-yard game, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a QBR of 44.6. Jordan Love had some good moments in this game where he was leading his team into a rainy San Francisco on this Saturday night. He had good moments, but he also had moments where you could tell that the pressure and him being a young quarterback who had never been in this situation before finally got to him. Trent Greenlaw intercepted Jordan Love twice. That's how Jordan Love got his 2 interceptions. The 1 interception, Jordan Love, at the end of the game, tries to throw a ball across his body And you never throw a ball across your body because 9 times out of 10 it's not going to end well. He was scrambling, and that's exactly what he did. He just tries to launch a ball across his body, and he did it. And Trent Greenlaw, was able to intercept it. The second interception that Trent Greenlaw got was Trent Greenlaw was watching with his eyes. He was on the coverage. He was watching the coverage, and Jordan Love throws on right to him. And I don't think that Jordan Love really seen him, so he was able to get that interception too. Now, keep in mind that the Packers had a chance to pull away. They were up by a touchdown, and they got the ball back. And they had the chance to pull away by 2 scores, and they couldn't do it. So time and time again, the Packers had a chance to pull away, and they just kept letting the 49ers hang around. Aaron Jones had 18 carries for 108 yards. You don't usually see a running back running the ball down the 49ers' throat with their spectacular defense, but Aaron Jones ran that ball the other night like nobody's business. He pounded the ball. He just ran it down their throat. You have to give credit to him when credit is due. Romeo Doubs had another good game. He had 4 receptions for 83 yards. He's really coming into his own this season. Jaden Reed had 4 receptions for 35 yards. Bo Melton had 1 reception for 19 yards and 1 touchdown. Tucker Kraft had 3 receptions for 9 yards and 1 touchdown. Transitioning to the San Francisco side of things, the 49ers, they got lucky. That game was a rain game. Keep in mind, so Brock Purdy, a lot of his throws were off the mark because the ball was wet. It was slick. He was trying to wear a glove, and then he took it off. So he didn't have his best game, but he also stuck in there and got the 49ers a win. Purdy had a passing attempts of 23 for 39, 252 yards, 1 touchdown. Purdy was sacked 1 time. He had a QBR of 61.9. He also ran the ball 6 times for 14 yards. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, do-it-all McCaffrey, had 17 carries for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he had 7 receptions for 30 yards. George Kittle, big tight end, had 4 receptions for 81 yards and 1 touchdown. Jawan Jennings had 5 receptions for 61 yards, and Brandon Ayuk had 3 receptions for 32 yards. Mention that I said nothing about Deebo Samuel. Deebo got hurt twice, two consecutive times. Deebo got hurt. We don't know what's going to happen with Deebo. Is he going to be able to play Sunday when those guys play Detroit? But his status is up in the air. But it certainly does not look good when the 49ers have Deebo. Of course, they are a much better team, as they should be. Without him, they were not a good team. This year, when Deebo was out 3 games, they went 0-3. Brock Purdy looked like just a normal quarterback. And then when Deebo comes back, Brock Purdy looks like a Pro Bowler. So they need Deebo Samuel because of their schemes and what they do. And he's a huge part of what the 49ers do. And if they don't have him on Sunday, Detroit has a great chance to win that game. So we will see what happens with Deebo Samuel. Transitioning to the next one, we had the Kansas City Chiefs play their first playoff road game under Patrick Mahomes going into Buffalo. And like I said, their first road game with Patrick Mahomes in the playoff game. Patrick was 17 from 23, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 91.2, and 6 carries for 19 yards. When you doubt Patrick Mahomes, it's almost like you're doubting Tom Brady. And we never wanted to ever doubt Tom Brady because we knew that he was going to bite you in the butt. And that's exactly the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. You're going to doubt Patrick Mahomes. You don't think he's going to hear it. He's going to hear it, and he's going to come back and bite you in the butt. That's exactly what he did. Isaiah Pacheco had 15 carries for 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce had 5 receptions for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, had 2 receptions for 62 yards. Rashid Rice had 4 receptions for 47 yards. The Chiefs went in there and they did their thing. We know that the Chiefs had the second best defense all year. That was the best defense that they've had since Patrick Mahomes has been a quarterback with the Kansas City Chiefs. So their defense was a huge part of what they did this season. And being that these wide receivers couldn't catch, if it wasn't for their defense, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs wouldn't be in the championship game. So we have to get a huge ton of credit to the Kansas City Chiefs defense for shutting down the Buffalo Bills, especially shutting down Stephon Diggs, who's been quiet over the last 5 or 6 games for the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs only had 3 receptions for 21 yards, and then you had Josh Allen throw a dart down the field to Stephon Diggs, just threw an absolute beautiful ball, and it went through Stephon Diggs' hands, went right through his hands, and it wasn't on Josh Allen. It was on Stephon Diggs. You a star, you have to make that catch. He knows that, but that wasn't the reason why the Bills lost the game. The Bills had, like I said, the Bills had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, just like the Packers did. They had opportunity to close out the Kansas City Chiefs, and they couldn't do it. When the moment was there, they could not do it. Josh Allen was 26 of 39 in passing attempts, 186 yards, 1 touchdown, a QBR of 65.4. And Josh Allen also ran the ball 12 times for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we know how effective Josh Allen is using his legs. He doesn't have to throw. He uses his legs. We know how effective that is. He's a big dude, so it's hard to get him down. James Cook had 18 carries for 61 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 21 yards. Ty Johnson had 7 carries for 40 yards, 1 reception, and 14 yards. Dalton Kincaid had 5 receptions for 45 yards. Khalil Shakur had 7 receptions for 44 yards, 1 touchdown. And as I mentioned, Stephon Diggs had 3 receptions, 21 yards. Not a Stephon Diggs-like game, and he should not only be having just 3 receptions for 24 yards. That's unacceptable. Very unacceptable. We knew coming into the season that he was not happy with his situation coming into the season. Josh Allen missed him on another ball, almost ending the game. Josh Allen tries to make the hero play and throw it into the end zone instead of giving the ball to Stephon Diggs, who ran a slant route and was wide open. Josh Allen opted not to throw it to him. So, as I just said, we know Stephon Diggs was not happy with his situation coming into the season. That play right there is not going to sit well with Stephon Diggs. I'm telling you right now. The score ended up being 27-24. We know Tyler Bass missed a game-tying field goal. Let me tell you something right now. They say that Tyler Bass was getting death threats and threats all over social media, and he had to delete his account. Let me tell you something. It's not Tyler Bass's fault for missing that field goal. The win was a factor in that game. Second of all, you shouldn't be giving him death threats either. That wasn't the reason why y'all didn't win the game. The reason why y'all didn't win the game is because y'all didn't come through with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen had 3 chances where he put the ball right in his wide receiver's hands, and they couldn't catch it. They blew it. Not Tyler Bass's fault. It was the wide receiver's fault for not catching 3 of the balls, 3 of the beautiful passes that Josh Allen threw to them, and they couldn't get it done. So, Tyler Bass, that's not your fault. Win was a factor. Yes, you should have made that field goal. I know it's no excuses, but don't beat yourself up about it. And transitioning last but not least, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. Y'all know that I do not like Baker Mayfield. I am not fond of Baker Mayfield at all. He's always been overrated, and I've never cared for him at all one bit. So I was happy that the Detroit Lions went and did their thing and beat who they should have beat in Baker Mayfield. Yes. Lions, y'all have never been here before. Y'all doing good. Y'all accomplishing everything that y'all have never accomplished before. I have to give credit when credit is due. Dan Campbell has those guys jacked up, ready to go, fighting and playing. And now y'all playing the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers, who y'all have a good chance of beating. Baker Mayfield was 26 of 41 in passing attempts, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and Baker Mayfield was also sacked 4 times by the Lions defense. Baker had a QBR of 55.7. Rashid White ran the ball for 9 carries, 55 yards. He had 4 receptions for 36 yards. Mike Evans, wide receiver, had 8 receptions for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. No, they could not stop Mike Evans. We know that there's been some concern from the Lions secondary that they're going to have to get cleaned up when they play the 49ers. Cade Otton had 5 receptions for 65 yards, 1 touchdown. Chris Godwin had 4 receptions for 40 yards. So, all in all, the Lions, we know one of their weakest parts has been their defense. But when they need to get a timely stop, they're able to get it. Jared Goff was 30 for 43 in passing attempts. 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff got sacked twice, and he had a QBR of 65.3. Jamar Gibbs ran the ball for 9 carries, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, and he also received 4 receptions for 40 yards. David Montgomery, not David Montgomery's best game by any stretch of the imagination. He had 10 carries for 33 yards, but hey, that's still a do. And at the end of the day, Detroit got the win. So, hey, David Montgomery, we know you're going to bounce back. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 8 receptions for 77 yards, 1 touchdown. We knew that Amon-Ra St. Brown was going to do his thing, and boy, did he do it. He had another spectacular game. Sam Laporta, tight end, had 9 receptions for 65 yards. And Josh Reynolds had 2 receptions for 27 yards and 1 touchdown. Score ended up being 31-23. Let me tell you something, Detroit, it's time to stand up. Y'all never been here before, and y'all here right now. Y'all might as well go out there and just go finish the job. Y'all might as well just go and do y'all thing and go finish the job and beat the 49ers and let's go to the Super Bowl. Because I know we have a Detroit fan base that's watching this podcast. Shout out to y'all. I hope that y'all get the job done. So it's coming down to the final 4 teams in this postseason, and I will have another episode up and coming this week about who I think is going to go to the Super Bowl this week. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about who y'all think is going to win. Give me some feedback. Let me know what y'all think. Until then, that's all I have for you guys today. And like I said, be on the lookout for another video this week. And I will catch you guys later.